right, here I am. I was looking something up real quick. Okay. So for the show today, we have a few bits of news. It's really just two stories. Neither of them are that great, if I'm being honest. And then it's just one story that is, hey, here's part one, here's part two, or here's an update, here's part three. And they all kind of relate to each other. So we've got all that. And then for WIBE, I don't really have much. I have been so busy this week. I have done almost nothing. So I've got one food thing, one video game-ish thing that we might as well just talk about, at least a little bit. And then I threw Rick and Morty season 9 on there in President Curtis just because I don't think we've talked about it that much. So I thought, fuck it, why not? Maybe I'll look up an episode list and because I've been watching and it's been pretty good, actually. So yeah, I don't have much. I do have a soda that I'm going to open right now. So this is a Shasta Raspberry Cream. I've got this, and then I also have A&W did a root beer float. I do not have that on me, but I have had it. I think it's okay. The root beer sundae they did last year was much better. I much preferred the A&W root beer sundae. But nope, they discontinued that for this, and this just isn't as good. Huh, that's an interesting flavor. Raspberry cream. What is it? I don't know what it makes me think of. Not like a strawberry shortcake. Or like, imagine like a strawberry shortcake, but with raspberries. I'm actually surprised I've never had that before. A raspberry shortcake. That actually sounds pretty good. Well, maybe I should do that one of these days. It's okay. It's okay. I'm not a big Shasta guy. I think they're the ones who do Tiki Punch. I like Tiki Punch. But other than that, no, I don't really care for Shasta. But I thought I'd try it. You know, might as well. Oh, yeah. So for today, we're beating King of Cards. We have been working on King of Cards for like a fucking month now. It has taken us forever to beat King of Cards. So we're going to boot it up right now. I literally have the game open still. We'll boot it up. We'll go down, King of Cards it. My goal is to just beat the game. We literally don't have much. We have like 5 levels, a Joustus house, and 2 bosses. Admittedly, those bosses are very fucking difficult, and the second one has like 4 parts. But outside of that, we should be at... My goal is to do it all within 2 hours. I think we can do it in 2 hours. It's really the... it's mainly the difficulty of it all that's going to make this take so much time. All right, let me jump right back in. Because yeah, I've played no video games all week. All right, here we are. We're back. Let me turn it down. That is very loud in my ear. Probably because of the Fire Emblem Direct. There we go. That's much better. So speaking of Fire Emblem Direct, we are not talking about the Fire Emblem Direct today. I know we watched it. I gave my thoughts on it then. I'll be honest, I don't have anything to add. Usually after one of these directs, I usually say like, oh, well, you know, I'd also like to talk about this, or here are my thoughts on this. You know, I usually have some more to say. I've got nothing more to say about the Fire Emblem. Not in like a bad way, just in I'm not a big Fire Emblem fan. So I don't have anything I can add or grow. I didn't you know, usually when I come to doing these things, I usually watch it for a second time. I did not watch the Fire Emblem Direct for a second time. I did see a video on YouTube that was like a Fire Emblem fan reacts. It was like a Fire Emblem Pro reacts to the Fire Emblem Direct. And I was like, oh, that might be good. And then I saw the video was like an hour and a half long, and I was like, maybe another time. So I don't have any thoughts on that. Fire Emblem is fine. If it's something you're into, it's definitely worth your time. If you want it physically, go buy it at either Walmart or Amazon right now, because you can get it for 10 bucks cheaper. If you're not buying it digitally, you can get a physical edition for the same price as digital, because this is the second Nintendo game to cost $80. Because guess what? Fire Emblem fans will spend the money. They know what they want. Because that's the thing about Fire Emblem, is that that's the reason it's the only mobile game left. Because Fire Emblem fans love their waifus. And they've got a lot of good waifus. They aren't all perfect. Theodora is fine. I just wish she wasn't as ashy. She's so ashy. And other than that, I think her design, like, I watched TB Skyne's video earlier today on her, and like some of his complaints, like, I get it, but also this is the Fire Emblem gun game, so I'm not really too upset with it. But I see the complaint. I see the complaint. But I just wish she was less ashy. I don't know what it is. Oh God, did you see the thing? So I guess the Proud Family reboot, which I have not watched, but I should watch, because I loved the Proud Family back in the day. I haven't watched the Wizards of Waverly Place reboot either, outside of the first like 6 episodes. But I guess they did a trans episode, and Disney pulled it from the schedule, and it leaked online earlier today, or yesterday. Which, go watch that episode. If it's anything like the leaked Moon Girl episode, it's probably fucking great. Because the Moon Girl episode that was removed by Disney about the trans character was fantastic. And fucking shame on Disney. You know, Disney always looks to talk about their queer representation, but then when push comes to shove, nope, they always chicken out. They always back down. And this is the 3rd black trans character that Disney has forcibly removed. So fuck Disney. Go watch this wherever you can. And I should really watch the Proud Family reboot. But maybe, you know, not through Disney. There are always ways. Oh, I should have put an anime on this. Maybe at the end, if I remember, when Anti-Anonymous pops in and asks, hey, did you watch any anime? I actually did. I didn't finish one, but I did start one. I do actually have that. All right, so gaming news. We got Saudi Arabia and Jared Kushner, you know, Donald Trump's son-in-law. They bought EA. We have GTA 6, which is doing a partnership with Netflix. And then there's just a bunch of other stuff with GTA 6. There are so many things with GTA 6 that I broke it up into 3 stories, all from 3 different sources. This week is kind of like a best hits reel of like, hey, here's some games journalists who I really enjoy. Here's, you know, pulling from some of their articles. I highly recommend you go check them out. That's going to be a lot of this week, you know, less Wario 64 this week. But, you know, I want to get the facts right, because it is important. And I want to, you know, go to people I trust, you know, Rebecca Valentine, Wesley Yenpool, Jason Schreier. No Emron Khan this week. I know he's another one of our frequent sources. But I did find out Emron Khan, for the 6th time in 6 years, has been laid off. Fuck. That just shows us how bad this industry is. Because Emron Khan does some fantastic work. Especially if you're in the Nintendo sphere. Emron Khan is great at their job. I hope they land on their feet. I hope they find more success wherever life takes them next. Because they've done some great stuff. But yeah. I saw that on Blue Sky, what, yesterday, 2 days ago? So our first story is about Saudi Arabia and Jared Kushner, who have officially bought EA. So everything I'm about to talk about comes from Rebecca Valentine over at Kotaku. I recommend you go and check out the story for yourself. And so Electronic Arts, about, I don't know, sometime late last year, announced that EA was in talks to acquire. EA was in talks to be acquired, specifically by Saudi Arabia and a public investment firm, a PIF. And so that deal has finally gone through. They have officially been acquired by Saudi Arabia and Jared Kushner. And so as a result, they are no longer trading on the stock market. You know, this is why a few weeks ago when we were talking about who bought those two Microsoft studios, who I still don't think we have an answer for, but one of the suggestions that people had brought up was that it was going to be Saudi Arabia. And this is exactly why, because they were in talks to buy EA, and so that now has officially. So Electronic Arts has been sold for $55 billion, with the company going private in the second largest deal in gaming history. The first largest is, of course, Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard. EA sale goes to a collective consisting of the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund and Silver Lake Partners and Affinity Partners, a private equity firm owned by President Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. So even though, you know, Trump himself will claim that, oh, this is all just his son-in-law's doing, he has no control over any of this. I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a fucking second. You know, Trump is very sketchy with all his finances. He always has been. That's how, you know, that's the art of the deal. So none of that really surprises me. And we'll talk about it, but this is basically just the whole reason Jared Kushner is even here is just to give this deal legitimacy. Because, you know, the whole problem with TikTok was that, oh, they didn't want, you know, a thing that a lot of Americans use to be owned by a foreign asset. But actually, there was more American ownership of TikTok than there will now be of EA, despite, you know, Jared Kushner being directly involved. And again, it's all just double standards and, oh, well, at least the president's involved in this one, unlike, you know, Oracle, where the president wasn't involved. And I hate this jump. I hate this jump so much. So it's so this is a direct line from Jared Kushner. EA has created stories, characters, and communities that have become part of everyday life for hundreds of millions of people. And so, you know, that's why he claims he's got an interest in it. How much is that true? I don't know. If you told me Jared Kushner plays Madden or one of those, I wouldn't be surprised. I think he would have too much shit to do. But I could see him as like a ball and gun gamer. Same thing with Baron. I could see Baron as a ball and gun gamer. Even though, again, I doubt it. So Saudi Arabia will now own 93% of EA through the PIF. The PIF is a sovereign wealth fund of Saudi Arabia run by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, with the current total estimate of over $900 billion. This acquisition was announced in September and has since been approved by EA shareholders and the necessary regulators. Analysts expressed concerns that this could mean the closure of studios such as BioWare. Because, you know, we haven't heard from BioWare in a while. The last thing they did was, what, Dragon Age Inquisition? It's been a while since we've heard anything from them. And while, you know, we're hopeful of things like, you know, we know they're making a new Mass Effect. We don't know anything about it, but we're hopeful in a way. And now there's concerns of, hey, is that even gonna happen now? Because another big concern is the removal of LGBTQ content. Because, you know, Saudi Arabia recently executed the highest number of individuals on record given year and has reported recently of torturing prisoners and severely limiting freedoms and expressions of associates, discriminating against women in both law and practice, and criminalizing same-sex relations and other LGBTQ activities amongst other violations. So all of that is reason to, for concern of how will this affect EA's games. You know, the BioWare games have LGBTQ relationships in them, and they have for a long time now. And then there's The Sims. EA owns The Sims, and The Sims is positive on everything. You want disability representation? They've got it. You want LGBTQ representation? They've got it. They've got not everything, but you know, a lot of things. And it's now worrisome of what comes from The Sims. What does Saudi Arabia say that they can and can't do? I know people have issues with The Sims. You know, it has always been over monetized. Okay, not always, but you know, for the most part, always been over monetized. And I know there's that new game that is basically just The Sims Lite. It's, you know, kind of in the same way that Stardew Valley is just Harvest Moon. This game is just The Sims and everything but name. But you know, it still sucks for people, you know, who have this game, who have this representation. That is now all in jeopardy. And then the final thing is that Affinity Partners, meanwhile, is wholly owned by Jared Kushner. However, most of its funds stem from the PIF, which invested $2 billion in funds shortly after Kushner left the White House at the end of Trump's first term in 2020. Kushner and Affinity Partners are currently under investigation by House Judiciary Committee due to alleged conflicts of interest with Kushner's acts under the current Trump administration. So yes, even though, you know, Jared Kushner allegedly owns 7% of EA now, the money he got to buy that percent of EA also came from Saudi Arabia. So like, yeah, he's already in their pockets, but now even more than ever, he's especially in their pocket. So this is just another bad thing for the gaming industry. Who knows what the consequences of this are going to be. There's a possibility that nothing changes, but truly that's never going to happen. You know, we look around, all the terrible things, you know, and you see all these gaming companies getting bought up by these hedge funds and whatnot, who are just trying to squeeze every bit of profit. Like, that's what's ruining fast food. We'll talk about it later when we get to Wendy's, but like, all these corporations just coming in and destroying these businesses before inevitably just shutting them down. It sucks. Capitalism is the destroyer of everything you love. Okay. So yeah, this whole acquisition, this is just, who knows what the consequences of this are going to be. Like right now, we can only speculate. But all the speculation within reason all ends terribly. And so the future of, to be fair, I can't even tell you the last EA games I played. I'd have to, I definitely haven't played a Madden or a FIFA or FC in a long time. So the last EA game I probably played, oh, I guess technically it'd be Split Fiction or It Takes Two, because those are, you know, published by EA. But I guess that would be it. Lost in Random? I never played Faye. I didn't play Unravel. I wanted to play Placia. I didn't even think EA published Split. I thought that was fully independent from you know, haze light going off and doing their own. Yeah, whatever. So, like, this doesn't personally really affect me. I don't play EA games. But this will have an effect on the wider gaming industry. And that's the problem. That's where all the issues. So it's just a bad moment for the gaming industry. It truly is. You know, we're seeing consolidation, and we see that what that consolidation also leads to. You know, studios being shut down, people losing their jobs. I see no reason why that wouldn't also happen here. We just don't know anything at the moment, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to happen in the near future. I mean, we still know there are people who are going to be laid off from Xbox. Like, we're still getting updates on, like, I think we got an update this week about, like, the Halo team and people being laid off from the Halo team. So, or people not being laid off, which is actually a good thing. But still, it's all very concerning. All right, so that's our first story. So our next story, I've broken it up into 3 parts. And this is all about GTA 6. So we're going to talk about the Netflix stuff, then we'll get to Jason Schreier, and we'll get to Wesley Yenpool. So the first thing is that over on their website, Rockstar announced that they will be doing... I also saw this on YouTube. Rockstar announced that they will be doing an extended look premiering on Netflix on August 27th at 12 p.m. Pacific time. So this is a deal that Rockstar Games has made, Rockstar/Take-Two has made with Netflix to show off GTA 6. Because so far, we've only had what, like 1.5 trailers. We have never actually seen gameplay for GTA 6 outside of the leaks. Not including leaks, we have never actually had gameplay for GTA 6. And that is, you know, a little concerning, especially with how many people are pre-ordering this game. But this is their big reveal. So that we're presumably we're getting gameplay. We'll talk about what Jason Schreier found out in a second. But this leaves so many questions. Of course, one of the first thoughts is, okay, you're premiering this on Netflix. If you want to watch this, you need a Netflix subscription. But obviously, people are going to leak it. You know, any announcement gets leaked nowadays. Obviously, people are going to find a way to leak this. I can almost guarantee you there's going to be somebody on Twitch who goes live streaming GTA 5, and then they cut over to this footage on the Netflix reveal and pretend like hold a controller in hand and pretend to play it, you know, like that one WWE guy. I can almost guarantee you that's going to happen. Something's going to leak. It's only inevitable, because that's just how this goes. However, we did find out, you know, around the same time that while yes, it will originally premiere on Netflix at 6 p.m. or at 12 p.m. Pacific time, later that same day at 6 p.m. Pacific time, it will be up on YouTube. So if you don't catch it originally on Netflix, you know, you don't have a Netflix subscription. By the way, you should not get a Netflix subscription just for this. Like, if you're thinking like, oh, well, maybe I'll get a Netflix subscription just to see this. Do not get a Netflix subscription just to watch this. I know there are a lot of people who just have Netflix already, and I'm not going to judge you either way, but you should not go out of your way to get Netflix just to see GTA 6. Again, everything's going to leak, and even if it doesn't leak, it'll be on YouTube just a few hours later. But of course, you know, I have several questions right off the bat. So, like, what is this? Is this a gameplay reveal? Because that's the big thing I think we need right now, is a gameplay review. So is this the GTA 6 gameplay reveal? Because they really haven't said either way. And that's just a little, you know, concerning, especially because people are pre-ordering it. As we're going to talk about in a second, a lot of people are pre-ordering it. So is this our gameplay reveal, or is this another big story reveal? You know, the last trailer we got was a big story trailer. Is that what this is going to be? I saw someone speculate like, oh, is this going to be like a GTA like prequel thing? Like a prequel show showing off like this, setting up the story to GTA 6? And like, that's possible. I can see elements of that, but definitely not the whole thing. And then the question is, why Netflix? Why out of everything is this happening on Netflix? And if I had to guess, well, I think it's a thing that both companies benefit from. But the obvious thing is that Netflix spent a fuck ton of money on it. You know, millions of dollars, tens of, potentially even hundreds of millions. I'm gonna guess closer to the tens of millions to get the first GTA 6 preview. Because again, we've seen little bits and pieces, but this is the first big gameplay reveal. People are going to be watching it. Yeah, you pay the money for that. That will potentially bring in subscribers. So I get that on that front. That the reason they're doing this is because Netflix paid them a shitload of money. But then also, Rockstar / Take-Two benefits because this is the mainstream audience. You know, for as big as YouTube is, as popular as YouTube is, not as many people watch new trailers and whatnot on YouTube as you would first think. Like, I'm one of those guys who, like, when I go to the movies, I hate preview. Like, most of the trailers I have already seen, or I see them before every movie. Like that One Night Only movie. I'm very glad that that finally came out this week, because now I will never have to see another trailer for that fucking movie. Same thing with the End of Oak Street. I am so sick of trailers for the End of Oak Street, and I'll never have to see one again in like a week or two. So it makes, as weird as it is, yeah, people don't really watch trailers or whatnot on YouTube. Like, yeah, fandoms do, but the vast majority of people have no idea what the fuck a fandom is. So to that end, getting on Netflix is mainstream. You know, they do the UHC, they do the WWE stuff. If they can get those people into GTA, well, that does huge numbers for GTA. And then for the gamers, who, of course, gamers always want to be the first people to see something. Of course, they're gonna, you know, if they don't already have Netflix, or, you know, they don't steal Netflix from somebody, of course, they're gonna go get Netflix just to watch this before other people. Of course, I also think, again, piracy. Obviously, you know, piracy is gonna be a thing. But guess what? You can't stop every pirate. You can, however, try to encourage them. And I don't know. Again, back in the day, the whole reason why Netflix and all the other streaming services blew up is because they weren't cheaper than piracy. They were more convenient than piracy. And now they just aren't anymore. Now they're more expensive and they're less convenient because you have to have like 10 different platforms, whereas with Netflix you used to just have to have one. So I think both people, you know, Netflix gets that mainstream audience, Rockstar gets the money, they both benefit on this, but obviously they know it's gonna leak. They know it's gonna get revealed, so why not just put it on YouTube a few hours later? That way, you know, everybody who doesn't have Netflix can still see it, but the people who cared saw it first on Netflix. Like, it was obviously gonna happen. It's kind of like when the Digital Circus came to theaters. Like, yeah, they put it in theaters for 2 weeks, or just for like a day or two, and then it was on YouTube 2 weeks later. Because, you know, they had to make their early money, and then they got to benefit from everything else. Of course, the big difference is that The Amazing Digital Circus was a small indie project, whereas this is GTA 6, the biggest game in the world, backed by a major AAA company, putting millions, let's be honest, billions of dollars into the game. Like, yeah, no shit. No fucking shit. Now, I've seen some people really mad at this. And you know, if they weren't putting this on YouTube 6 hours later, I would agree. Like, all the complaints, all the criticism, yep, totally valid. However, because they are putting it on YouTube 6 hours later, I'm actually not too upset with it. I definitely don't think this is great. Like, this is not me coming out and giving my, you know, seal of approval. Not at all. But this is also not me being like, oh, this is the worst thing in the world. This sucks. This is the death of the gaming industry. No, I would not go that far at all. No, this is, again, if it was exclusive, we'd be singing a different tune. But it's not exclusive, so I'm not singing that tune. I think everything here is just kind of, yeah, okay. They're doing, you know, they're being fucking weird, but it's Rockstar. I sadly don't expect any less, because they're fucking weird like that. So yeah, I'm not too upset over this. Yes, this is not great, but this is also not terrible, because at least it is on YouTube. It kind of, okay, so Nintendo Today, it'd be hypocritical of me if I didn't talk about this. So Nintendo does their Nintendo Today app, and as part of Nintendo Today, they put information up on Nintendo Today before anywhere else. Of course, if you follow people like Wario64, the moment something gets posted on Nintendo Today, it also gets posted on Wario64. He gets it within a minute. But sometimes, it's happened at least once, I've seen the push notification from Nintendo Today before I've seen Wario 64. Like, yeah, Nintendo still will also later put the information on Twitter. Like, the whole reason Nintendo created their own fucking news app is because Twitter became such a fucking cesspool that they felt like they had no choice but to abandon Twitter and do their own thing. That's the whole reason we got Nintendo Today to begin with. Is because Twitter is just such an awful, terrible, horrible place to be. And yeah, you know, Nintendo has their own weird priority news app that you can't take videos on. But guess what? That hasn't stopped anybody. And this isn't going to stop anybody with GTA, especially when it comes out just a few hours later. The only thing that's going to suck is those people who do like live reaction videos. Like, are they going to be able to live react to the GTA announcement? Or is, you know, even after it gets put on YouTube, is Rockstar / Take-Two just gonna copyright strike everything? If you've been in the space long enough, there's a whole thing where, with movies, if, you know, back in the day, you could do a live reaction to a movie trailer, and you'd be like, oh, this is a good thing, because this is literally just giving the movie free publicity. But nowadays, companies don't actually like people reacting to their movies. They don't want that. Like, we saw that with Avengers Doomsday. They put out the new trailer for Avengers Doomsday, but if you did a live reaction to that trailer, they just copyright striked it, Disney. And it's free advertising, blah, blah, blah. I get it. Trust me, I know. But no, these companies just don't give a fuck. And so this is how they do things nowadays, is they just copyright strike it. And so even after it gets put on YouTube, I would not be surprised if the copyright strikes keep happening. Sadly, because we live in fucking hell. And then the other thing is the live reaction. Like, people who are live reacting to this, what do they tell you? Just sync it up with YouTube? I mean, that's the easiest way to do it. That's how that's how I did it back in the day when I was a little bit more litigious about these things. But it's just, it's creating a different experience that just, I feel like if they had just put it on YouTube, it would be more fun. But they obviously got offered a lot of fucking money, so they're not going to. So that's our first bit of news. So the next day, or like a day or two later, Jason Schreier put out a piece. You know, go Jason Schreier's YouTube, go check him out. He's always doing great stuff. You know, One Take Schreier. And so he talked about GTA 6 and how things are looking. And its pre-orders on GTA 6 have vastly surpassed Take-Two's internal forecast. So even without seeing any gameplay for GTA 6, pre-order numbers are even higher than Take-Two expected. And their numbers were probably pretty high, this being the most anticipated game. Definitely of the generation, but if someone argued that it's the most pre-order, you know, the most anticipated game of all time, I would kind of believe them. I think you could make that safe argument. So, Schreier says that he expects the extended look on August 27th to offer a meaty look at actual gameplay, which is obviously what we want. Strauss Zelnick told Schreier in an interview that when the extended look goes live, people will understand why they chose Netflix for the premiere and stated that it's a must-see event. Which again, I don't want to say partnering with Netflix gives them legitimacy, but it is, you know, trying to reach this bigger audience, even if it's all kind of bullshit. Schreier asked if it'll feel like we're watching a Netflix show, and Zelnick replied yes. Again, this could be prequel sort of thing. Is this like, are they structuring this extended look like, you know, a vertical slice, even if it's not a vertical slice, because the game obviously comes out in November? But is this like walking us through a day in the life of Vice City? It could be something like that. The marketing strategy aims to reach a broader non-gaming audience of people who might know GTA exists, but aren't necessarily going to buy it day one. Again, the vast majority of gamers only buy 2 games a year. Usually it's a ball game, usually it's a gun game. GTA technically has both, but it is definitely a gun game. And so their goal is to get this to a wider range of audiences that will be aware that, hey, this is, you know, the one gun game I should pick up this year instead of Call of Duty. Take-Two isn't concerned about selling to a smaller audience, as the install base will be roughly the same as the install base when they launched GTA 5. Again, GTA 5 was an Xbox 360 PS3 game. That's how old GTA 5 was. That's how long ago this was. And so yeah, the PS5 has sold 90 million units. The Xbox Series X/S is, I think, 30 million. Those are, sure, they're not as big as the generation that came before it, where the PS5 had like 150, PS4 had 150 million, but that's still nothing to sneeze at. And then Schreier also asked him if he was planning for a big November 19th like holding party or taking a break, which Zelnick replied, "It's ultra top secret at the moment, but at some point before then, I'll be happy to talk about it." So, you know, it's both, are they, like, because the Rocks, you know, the reason why I trust Jason Schreier so much, especially about the stuff with Take-Two and Rockstar, is that he's the one who broke the whole story of Rockstar devs being overworked while working on Red Dead Redemption. And so obviously this question is getting at that, of like, hey, are you going to take a break after this? Or are you going to continue working on your employees? You know, are you celebrating? That's an obvious concern. Because now the thought is like, hey, once GTA 6 is out, do they just go into endless development for GTA 6 Online? which I do fully expect, by the way. Like that is something that I do see coming. Ah, money's useless to us. So yeah, all that's to be, you know, expected at this point. What was I gonna say? I had a comment. God, I should have just said it at the time. But I was like, no, I'll save it for the end. Fuck, what was it? The extended go live, understand, must see event. What was I had? Oh, okay. So he mentions that, like, you know, they're bringing it to Netflix to hit a wider audience. So yeah. So Schreier asks, right? So Schreier asks if watching the GTA 6 reveal on Netflix will feel like a Netflix show. And Zelnick replies, yes. I don't know if you've been on Disney Plus and you've searched around. Why is there someone's Minecraft Let's Play on Disney Plus? I don't know if you've seen this. I don't remember what it's called, but there is an entire Minecraft Let's Play just sitting on Disney Plus. Like, I know some YouTubers made deals with like Roku or Tubi or one of those to put their YouTube videos on those platforms. You know, in the same way they make deals with, you know, Spotify and whatnot. But why is someone's Minecraft Let's Play just sitting on GTA or on Disney Plus? Why is someone's Minecraft Let's Play just sitting on Disney Plus? It's like two best friends learn about gaming while playing Minecraft or something like that. God, I wish I was just scrolling through Disney Plus one day and I wish I had bookmarked it. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find it. But like, what the fuck is this? I booted up Disney Plus just to look. I'm just gonna search Minecraft and see if that takes me. It might be a Hulu thing, admittedly. You know, I know Disney Plus merged with Hulu. But I was like, what the fuck is this? Why is someone's Minecraft Let's Play on? It had some generic name like Alex and Sam's Best Friend Adventure or some shit like that. But I was so confused when I saw it. And I should have like written it down. I should have just like bookmarked it. But I didn't. I don't know. I'll go looking for it. I'm sure I can find it somewhere. But I was just so confused. I don't even know where I'd look to find it. I don't even remember. I was just so surprised to see a Minecraft. And it was like 10 episodes. Okay, I'm getting derailed. I'll go looking for it. Nope, still can't find it. Okay, whatever. So our third bit comes from Wesley Yinpool over at IGN, and it is Take-Two CEO defends GTA not having a physical disc. So this is also an interview with Strauss Zelnick, and he quote says, "Our business is well over 90% digitally distributed. We've talked about this number before. This number's kind of bullshit. You know, it doesn't take into account things like the used game market and whatnot." But he continues, "It's already a digital business. So in certain instances, especially if it's a big game, discs just, note I said disc, don't really make sense to the consumer." He continues, "Also, most instances you have to register online to play anyway. So if you're already connected, who cares if you download digitally? It's all the same, it's much more convenient." So that's where the world is going, in our opinion. And I think Sony understands that. We certainly understand that. It doesn't mean that we won't have physical editions now and then. I'm sure we will, in the same way that there's still vinyl and recorded music. I'm sure we will, in the same way that there's vinyl in the recorded music business. But in other instances, it just won't make any sense. And of course, he also talked about how the GTA 6 pre-order has reached an unprecedented and astonishing level. And then they are so unprecedented, we just don't know how it'll translate into sales. So my big takeaway from that is that, yeah, these corporations just want to push a digital future. You know, they keep citing these statistics like 90%. To be fair, I've cited them in the past. I've cited them in the past, not as a justification per se, but just as a, you know, this is where the industry, even though I disagree with them, I still like a good physical game. This is definitely where the industry is going. This is the trajectory. You know, I am mostly a physical gamer, right? Basically every game I have on my Switch 2 is physical, but not every one. You know, Pokopia, for example. Pokopia was announced as a game key card. And when I saw that, I was like, you know what? I might as well just buy it digitally at that point. Not that I'm not fully against game key cards. I definitely would prefer the full game on the cartridge, but I do think a game key card is better than a code in a box or no code at all. You know, just digital. A game key card is better than digital only, at least in my opinion. I know some people will say, well, why compare the two evils? But they still, you know, there's that Witcher quote of like, oh, why compare evils at all? They're both evil at the end of the day. And like, yeah, I get it, but also, you know, morally grays and whatnot. But no, the death of physical media fucking sucks. And yes, I do own a game key card. I do own one of those. And then I've also bought digital game, you know? But for the most part, everything I've bought on Switch 2 has been physical. And, you know, because not every game gets a physical edition, you know? And there are indie games that would kill to get a physical edition. Like Peak. Oh my gosh. Peak just announced their big new Gloom and Citadel update. I'm very excited. I loved Peak. And they're porting the game to consoles, which is very exciting. And I hope as part of that, they try to make a deal with like a limited run games or something to make a physical edition. I hope that happens. That would be very cool. If it doesn't, it's not the end of the world, but it'd be really cool if it did. You know, I can put it next to my Bing Bong plush. But no, I think all of this is like, oh, well, this is the trends of the industry. And no, you know, we'll talk about this from Nintendo in a minute in Byte-Sized news. But on Nintendo platforms, they don't see that 90% split that, you know, they're talking about here. On Nintendo platforms, it's closer to a 40-70 or a 40-60 split. Yeah, 40% of people still buy physical games on Nintendo platforms. That's a far cry different than what, you know, they're claiming here. And I think vinyl, like, he brings up vinyl to be like, oh, well, they still make vinyl records, don't they? I think that's doing the exact opposite of his argument. That, yeah, they still make vinyl records because people still care about physical media. You know, they care about that preservation. They care about sound quality in vinyl. I don't know, I've never been a vinyl guy, but I know people who are. If it isn't very obvious by me having audio issues every fucking week, I'm not an audio guy. I'm not a... What's the sound version of a Cineplex? I don't know, it doesn't matter. But no, vinyl, the fact that we literally brought vinyl back from the dead is all the proof that, yes, people like physical media. There's an entire generation that has grown up on digital media, and yet when given the choice, we see them use physical media just because it has that certain tactile feel that you can't really look past anymore. It is very valuable. So yes, I do think this is doing the opposite argument of what he intended. But of course he's gonna argue it anyways, because he has to justify the decision his company was making. Honestly, if they would just say like, yes, the whole reason we're doing a digital edition at launch is because we don't want the game to leak. Like, yeah, it's more money off the top for them. But I do also think there is an aspect of they don't want the game to leak early. And if they were just transparent about that, of like, yeah, we don't want the game to leak early, and so we're doing it this way, and then later on, they'd be like, yeah, we're doing a physical edition. I think people would, you know, it still wouldn't be perfect, but people would be more open to it. But no, the fact that they've come out and said, we're never doing a physical edition, and now PlayStation is killing off the disc drive. And, you know, there was a story this week about how, I guess on newer PlayStation models, they've started putting a sticker that basically says like, hey, starting in January 2028, PlayStation will no longer be doing discs, so just be aware of that. It definitely shows just, yeah, things suck in the gaming industry. And I know people are excited for GTA. Oh, it's going to be a great, fanciful time. But yeah, things still do suck in the gaming industry. How do I don't even know how I want to do this. So yeah, there's our GTA story. Like I said, it's a lot. There's a lot going on with GTA. And this is still, again, we haven't even seen gameplay yet. Everything we've been talking about for the past few weeks is like pre-orders and talks about a trailer that hasn't even trailered yet. But of course, we'll talk about the trailer. Will I live react to this trailer? Probably not. I don't know. It happens while I'm at work. At least I think it happens when I'm at work. Yeah, no, it'll happen when I'm at work. So, I mean, I could, you know, depending on what's going on, I might see it when I get off of work, but who knows? At the moment, I have no plans to like live react to it, but like, fuck it, you never know. All right, let's do a bit of bite-sized news. So we got an update on the Zelda movie casting this weekend. We still have not seen a trailer or even just a teaser, which actually really surprises me because, you know, Comic-Con was a few weeks ago, what, like 2 weeks? I was fully expecting us to get a Zelda movie teaser, at least teaser, at Comic-Con. Just it doesn't have to be something big, you know, just a shot and a logo. But no, we didn't get anything. And that really surprises me. But so our new cast is Daishin Lockman, who I know as Miss Casey from Severance. If you've seen Severance, I recognized her immediately. She's pretty good in Severance, and she will be playing Impa. There are actually set leaks of this, so you can go see her. I think because of the set leaks, I think this had been rumored, but if you want to go see what she looks like, yep, you can go do that. We know Ulai Latikufe, I'm definitely saying that wrong, will be Ganondorf. He's known for playing Young Rock in the show Young Rock. I have never seen Young Rock. I don't even think I've seen like TikTok clips of Young Rock. Like I've seen TikTok clips of Young Sheldon. I've never seen TikTok clips of Young Rock. But what I've liked about the Zelda movie casting, for the most part, is that they're going with more obscure actors and actresses for some of these bigger roles. You know, I have no idea who Bo Bergeson is, but hey, it's cool. You know, I like that they're going for unnames. I've said about, you know, the Marvel Cinematic Universe that they should just find some young, talented, unnamed actors and just sign them to, you know, decade-long contracts to play Iron Man, Captain America, whatnot. And yeah, they occasionally do that, but not always. You know, look at Ghost Rider. And even though, yes, I am excited for Ryan Gosling's Ghost Rider, that's a whole different story. But no, them getting someone who I've literally never heard of to be Ganondorf. Yeah, I'm cool with that. But of course, someone we do know is the late Sam Neill will be in this movie as a currently unknown role, and this will be his final on-screen performance. Because Sam Neill passed away earlier this year, you know, best known for Jurassic Park. The only other thing I can think of off the top of my head is he was Event Horizon, right? Event Horizon. Yeah, he was Event Horizon. Okay. Why that is the second thing I think of when I think of Sam Neill, I don't know. But he will be in the Zelda movie in some way, shape, and form. And yeah, this will be his last on-screen performance. And then finally, we have Giovanni Groviski, who is also playing an unknown role that we don't know. And that's it. Those are our casting updates. We'll keep hearing on. I'm excited for when we eventually one day get a trailer, but this is where we're sitting at the moment. That's our first thing. Second thing is we got Switch 2 sales figures. You know, it's that time of the year. I think this is Q2, end of the year. So what are our sales figures? Switch 2 hardware-wise has sold 23.6 million units. For a year into the console's lifespan, that's, you know, a little more than a year, I guess. That's good. Those are good numbers. I know some people, you know, the grifters will tell you this is the end of Nintendo because they didn't sell 30 million units. But no, these numbers are fine. Everything is gonna be fine. Sure, they're not as high as they could have been, but also fucking look at the world around us. This is also mean that the Switch 2 has now sold more than the game. So no matter how bad the Switch 2 does, it cannot be a failure at this point, because it's already surpassed Nintendo's 3 biggest failures. That being the Wii U, the Virtual Boy, and the Game. Admittedly, I don't know what N64 sales numbers are, but those are the next number. That's the next thing to overcome. 32 million units. Yeah, it'll do 30. I wouldn't be surprised if by this time next year we're at 32 million units. And then, so software-wise, Mario Kart World has sold 15.39 billion units, or million units, 15.39. Again, it's basically a one in every, 3-4 Switch 2 owners have Mario Kart. No surprise there. Mario Kart 8 was the same way. Donkey Kong Bonanza has sold 4.78 million units. Again, for the first year of a console, I think that's pretty decent. Pokemon Legends ZA Switch 2 Edition has sold 3.99 million units. I would assume that number includes the Switch 1 version as well. Like, I don't think that's just Switch 2. It might be, but I wouldn't think so. I don't know, I just realized in my notes it specifically says Switch 2 Edition. Pokemon Pokopia has sold 3.68 million units, and those sales numbers, it specifically said that it does not include Japan sales. Why it doesn't include Japan sales, I have no idea. I would guess it's something to do with like digital code laws or something, because, you know, that is the only first party, second party Nintendo game to be a game key card, which, you know, I know there are some people who will say there are no first party game key cards, because Pokopia is technically like a second party game. I think that's bullshit. Pokopia is basically a first party game. Nintendo owns the rights to Pokemon, at least they share it. Pokemon's a first party game, and Pokopia is a first party game key. And then Kirby Air Riders has sold 1.9 million units. I've seen some people decry that and be like, oh, Kirby Air Riders has failed. If Nintendo had just done some DLC for it, it would sell way better by now. Sakurai has just let this game out to die. You know, fuck that. I think the original Kirby Air Riders, I want to say, sold like 2.7 million, something like that. Kirby Air Riders was always going to be a niche game. it was never going to sell Smash Bros. Number. People act like if it had gotten DLC, it would be the next Smash Bros. It was never going to be the next Smash Bros. It was always going to be a niche cult classic. And to that end, it is an amazing niche cult classic that, in my opinion, doesn't need DLC. Like, if it had had it, that would have been cool, but it doesn't need it. It's a great game anyway. And I'm so sick and tired of our culture being like, oh, well, every game needs DLC. Oh, there are certain genres of game that need DLC. Like, fuck right off with that. Not every game needs DLC. DLC is a relatively new thing. You know, that didn't always exist. So whatever. It's a great game. Go play Kirby Air Riders. It is so worth it. Especially if you were, like, at one point they were selling it for like 50% off. If you can get it for 50% off, oh my god, I think that was through Costco. That's the biggest steal of all time. Other things, neither Yoshi and the Mysterious Book or Star Fox have sold over 1 million units during this quarter. That's not too great, because another game recently was Metroid Prime. Metroid Prime also didn't sell over 1 million units, and that was kind of concerning. And yeah, Star Fox, admittedly, it's by the end of this quarter, that's like 5 days. So it not selling 1 million units in 5 days doesn't really surprise me. But Yoshi, it's a little bit more concerning. I think we're just used to every game on Switch 2 selling 1 billion units. Like, that just became the standard. But yeah, and then even though they did not give Yoshi numbers, they did say the game is performing steadily. So again, it was potentially a budget title, a game made on a lesser budget that they spent less money making, and as a result expected to sell less copies. So even though it has not sold 1 million units, if they spent less money making the game, then that means they have to sell less copies to make their money back. So I'm not too worried. And then for Switch 1 updates for sales, the Switch 1 has sold 156 million units, 0.59. It's on the way to be, you know, it's what, 4 million units away, 3.5 from being the best-selling console of all time. So if you've never played, I'm gonna real quick pause. If you've never played Shovel Knight before, this is, in my opinion, the hardest boss in Shovel Knight. All 4 of the campaigns. This boss is difficult. I swear there was music during this fight. Maybe I'm misremembering things. Maybe it is just supposed to be silent. I mean, I'm still hearing the sound effect, but I swear there was supposed to be music during that. To be fair, there was a music issue. We are playing on Switch 2, and there is a known music issue on Switch 2, and I have not updated the game to fix that issue, so maybe that's the problem. So I might just be playing on an outdated version of the game. But I do really like, this is very Final Fantasy boss coded. I really do like this boss, but it's fucking hard. Oof. The lack of music is weird. And then, okay, Switch game sales wise for the Switch 1, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has sold 71 million units. And the fact that even after Mario Kart World releasing, the sales numbers for Mario Kart 8 has not slowed down. It's still selling extremely well, which is kind of wild. The fact that the game is still doing that well, even all this time later. Animal Crossing is at 50 million units, Smash Ultimate's at 38, Breath of the Wild is at 34, and Mario Odyssey is at 30 million. None of those numbers really surprise me. All the games are still doing well, and those are just the top 5. Obviously, you know, I think Tears of the Kingdom is at like 22 million or 23 million, something like that. But yeah, the Switch 1 games are still selling well. I still do think that they need one more Switch 1 game for the holiday season to try to pass that 160 million sales, but also maybe they don't need it because every other gaming console is getting more and more expensive, including the Switch 2, but the Switch 1 still only costs like $350, which is, again, $150 cheaper than its closest competitor. I'm actually amazed we just beat that boss on my first try. If you saw the last time we played King of Cards, I fucking struggled with that fight so much. That fight took me like an hour last time I did it. I have no idea how we beat that on my first. And then the final thing for sales numbers is Tomodachi Life Living the Dream sold 8 million units. So that game did extremely well. We all knew that. Like, even despite them, you know, limiting how people can share their experiences, guess what? Life still finds a way. And Tomodachi Life still did extremely well. All right, there's our Cardopedia. Guess what? I'm not going. I've never actually gotten all the cards in this game. It's just not worth it. Okay, there's the music. I was worried there for a second. I was like, did I break the game? But no, we got music back. Okay. And then final bite-sized thing. Hey, there was a Fire Emblem Direct. I think it's very interesting. They're doing a whole time skip thing with like a true protagonist, which, yeah, that seems interesting. I've seen some interesting theories and speculation about what's going on. I want the new Fire Emblem game to be good. Even if I'm not going to be playing it, a good game is good for everybody. Even if it's not one you personally are interested in. And now we're back to no music. I broke this game, didn't I? Ah, fuck, I broke King of Cards. Or, again, it was broken on Switch 2 and I just haven't updated the game. That's a problem. Alright, let's do some WIBE stuff, shall we? So, like I said, I got one food thing. I want to talk about Splatoon Raiders. And then, I guess we'll talk about Rick and Morty Season 9. I don't know, once we beat the final boss of King of Cards here, we're done. Like, we're going until we beat the final boss. We'll talk about Rick and Morty. I'll give my thoughts on Season 9. You know, whatever happens, happens. Yeah. And then we might if I have time, we'll talk about President Curtis as well, because I have watched the first 2 episodes of that show. Oh, fuck, did we talk My Adventures with Superman? Ooh, I did not talk My Adventures with Superman. I don't think I did. Ooh, maybe we'll talk about that. Oh, yeah. Because I think we did early. We went on, like, Friday last week. I think we were early. And I almost did Friday this week. But I was, oh my god, I was so exhausted after work yesterday that I just conked out immediately. Alright, let's talk Wendy's. So, if you've been following with the podcast for the past few years, you know, my opinion on Wendy's has suffered immensely. I used to treat Wendy's in such high regard. Out of, like, the fast food burger places, you know, Wendy's, McDonald's, Burger King, you know, the stuff like that. Wendy's was always the best one. They had the higher highs than McDonald's, and even their lows were higher than, like, Burger King's lows. They were just good. Their chicken sandwiches were good. Not always. Admittedly, it was, you know, a roll of a dice, and if your dice rolled bad, well, womp womp. But for the most part, they were good. Wendy's knew what they were doing. And then, since being bought by, like, a private equity firm or BlackRock or one of those groups, like every other corporation, their quality has just fallen off the cliff. Wendy's has gotten worse and worse. their chicken, which, you know, some people, not myself, but many people would have considered their best thing, is now like the worst thing to get. The burgers are, you know, it was fresh, never frozen. And like that may still be true, but they're now just, the quality has gone down. Admittedly, they did try to redo their chicken sandwich and I didn't really care for it, but they're changed to like a potato bun. I don't actually hate. Like, I actually think potato buns are fine. Burger King, I think, also has one, and their new bun's pretty decent. But Wendy's has just been a disappointment. Now, with that, this week, Wendy's brought back one of their best items. So if you ask a lot of Wendy's people, they will tell you that one of the best Wendy's items of all time is the pretzel bacon pub cheeseburger, right? It's a cheeseburger. Some people prefer the chicken sandwich, but for the most part, it is considered by many Wendy's people to be their best item of all time. I wouldn't go that far, but I see where they're coming, you know? And so I obviously, when they announced it was coming back this week, I went and got a pretzel bun bacon cheeseburger. I got the chicken sandwich, I got the pub fries, and I got their new apple crumble frosty fusion. So we'll talk about all of those. There should definitely be music here. The fact that there is no music makes me feel like I'm going insane. We definitely broke the game. Yeah, we just have sound effects. The fact that there is no music here makes me feel crazy. Wait, let me open up YouTube real quick. Shovel Knight, King of Cards, OST. Alright, then. Alright, hopefully you hear that. I'm just gonna loop that, and boom, there's some music. This is literally just the boss fight music, fit to be crowned. Yeah, sounds good to me. I don't know how he broke this game so fast. Again, I heard about a Switch 2 audio bug, but I thought that was the crackle, not this. Okay, so Wendy's Pretzel Pub Bacon Cheeseburger. This is a legendary Wendy's item. And so, while I was excited for it, there was a part of me that was a little worried that, you know, with modern day Wendy's, it just wasn't going to be as good. So I went and I got the burger, the chicken sandwich, I got everything. And you know what? It was fucking great. At least for me. Again, not everybody's having the same experience. But at least for me, this is the best Wendy's I have had in a long time. I was thoroughly impressed with it. I had a great time with it. Everything tasted so good. The chicken sandwich wasn't dry. The burger tasted great. The pretzel bun was fresh, not stale. This is the best Wendy's I have had in a while. The Frosty. Oh my gosh, this is my, you know, the one thing I will give Wendy's credit for is their Frosty Fusions. I definitely feel like the Frosty Fusions have been pretty decent, even when everything else sucked. This is maybe their best one. It's so, at least since the cookie dough one. This one, which I think that was only like 2 Frosties ago, this one's pretty good. So the Pretzel Pub Bacon Cheeseburger has obviously a pretzel bun. It's got smoked honey mustard, applewood smoked bacon, crispy onions, crinkle cut pickles, Munster cheese, and then a beer cheese sauce. You can get it with 1 patty or 3 patties. I got just 1 singular patty. You know, I also had a whole chicken sandwich. I was only gonna do 1. So I got that, and yeah, it was fantastic. It was put together really well. It tasted great. I had no issues with it whatsoever. I definitely shouldn't still have the music on during the cutscene. Whatever, I was going crazy. No, like seriously, I was going just a little bit crazy. It just, everything sounded wrong. But yeah, the burger was great. The chicken sandwich was not dry. It wasn't the most, again, I know they redid their chicken sandwich recipe, but it was still pretty good. I still enjoyed it. I am surprised they do not have a spicy option, whereas, you know, you can get multiple patties on the burger. You can only get a non-spicy, a classic chicken sandwich. You cannot get a spicy version. Even as like an option, like, oh, you can optionally make it spicy. I'm surprised they don't give you that option. That's not a big change. I bet if you go into like the restaurant and you could ask like, hey, can you make me this but with a spicy patty? They'd probably say yes, as long as you're not an asshole or the employees just aren't in a bad mood. But yeah, I am kind of surprised that there's no spicy version. But no, all that stuff was great. Wendy's fries, you know, any fry, no matter how bad, well, okay, not universal, but you know, for the most part, if you put cheese and bacon on it, it's gonna taste good. These fries have bacon, beer cheese, and shredded cheddar cheese, and yeah, they taste good. There's not as much fry as you would want. Like, you always want just a little bit more than what they give, but that's pretty universal for like a fry. So I'm not too surprised. But outside of that, yeah, the pub fries were pretty good. And then finally, the apple crumble frosty fusion was fantastic. It's a vanilla frosty. You cannot get, usually with most of the frosty fusions, you can do vanilla or chocolate. This is vanilla only. And it comes with, it's a vanilla only frosty with an oat crumble and a spiced apple syrup. Now, admittedly, the one I had wasn't mixed too well, so a lot of the syrup had like clumped to the bottom. Give me since I got a second, I might as well see. Like, if I mess with the music volume, does this like fix it? No, I'm not hearing double music, so no, that did not fix it. I don't know how I broke it. But no, it has an oat crumble and a spiced apple syrup. And yeah, the spiced apple syrup, it definitely, when it's blended into the frosty, it tastes better when you just have the syrup on its own. The syrup on its own ain't great, but in the frosty, it's pretty good. And then the oat crumble, yeah, it's a nice addition. I know, you know, when people think of fall, for the most part, they think of like pumpkin spice. You know, I used to be one of those pumpkin spice haters who was like, yeah, pumpkin spice is basic. But then, you know, Brennan Lee Mulligan showed me the way, and now I don't care. I'm not a big pumpkin, like, I don't get pumpkin spice, I don't go to Starbucks. But I'm not gonna chide anyone for doing it anymore. Like, who fucking cares? You know, we live in a post, Stephanie Meyer world. Who cares? So yeah, but I do like that Apple is becoming more fall themed. People have realized that, hey, if we just take all the pumpkin spice stuff and use apple instead of pumpkin, people are also going to like that. And yeah, spoiler alert, I really liked this. This was a great frosty. I'd get another one in a heartbeat. I'd get all this stuff again in a heartbeat. You know, sometimes when we do these fast food things, it's like, yeah, I had it, it was okay, but I don't think I'll get it again anytime soon. You know, like, once this goes away at the end of the month, I'm not gonna miss it. When this goes away at the end of the month, I'm gonna miss this. Like, this could be the fall menu until like December, and I would not complain. But no, it's not gonna last forever, sadly. But while it's here, pretty dang good. It is pretty dang good. I tell you what, I tell you what. So yeah. What else? Anything else? I don't know. Wendy's, again, maybe I just got lucky. With a lot of these fast food places, it's a gamble. Sometimes you go in and you have a great time, Other times you go in and they just completely fuck up. This time I got lucky. Maybe next time I won't. But for today, I got really lucky, and I'd recommend this in all heart. All right, let's talk about Rick and Morty real quick before I eventually die to this boss. Because spoiler alert, I'm gonna die. I have never done this on my first try. I always fuck this part up. Oh my god. The fact that every jump, it has the potential for instant death. I know I jinxed myself, but I fucking hate this boss. Visually, I think it looks fantastic. But like fight-wise, I've always disliked this boss. You know, Cardia has weird gimmicks, but I think that's interesting. This one just isn't. It also doesn't help that I try to rush through everything. All right, so Splatoon Raiders. So I beat Splatoon Raiders. I don't want to give away any spoilers. I'm still working on endgame stuff. There's still a lot more I've got to do in the game. But you know what? I've been having a great time. I like all the kits, you know, the speed tank, the power tank, and the tactical tank. I went in it expecting, I was like, okay, I know I'm gonna like the power tank. I probably will like the tactical tank. I didn't really have any high expectations for the speed tank, but I was genuinely surprised. Sometimes you get like a combo run in, you use some of like the speed tank's movement tech, and it's just so satisfying. And it works so well. I was genuinely impressed with how much I loved the speed. And then especially, so in the later game, after you do some upgrading, you gain the ability to use one of the pieces of gear from a different tank. So like the speed tank can use a piece of gear from, I want to say the tactics tank, it might be the power. You don't get, it's one of the other two. It's like, you can use a speed gear with the power tank, you can use a power tank with the tactics tank, and you can use a tactics tank with the speed tank, or something like that. That is a great gimmick. It just makes the game more fun. Because now all of a sudden, you know, you have your five main trinkets that you can use. And then now you have the potential to add in one more from a different set that can completely change up how you use that tank. So like I immediately started seeing the synergy of like, hey, you know, the speed tank has all this movement tech, but what if I give it the tether from the tactics tank? So while I'm moving around with all that movement tech, I can then have a tether just follow me that does constant damage to all the enemies. And it worked okay. Not as well as it should have, but it worked okay. Same thing with the power tank, same thing with the tactics tank. Being able to use different weapons adds a nice variety. I know people are doing crazy stuff in Splatoon Raiders. People have found like crazy combos and have been able to do like 5 million damage. I'm definitely not there yet. Like I have not gotten, if you played another Splatoon game, you know, secret bosses, secret endings and whatnot. I have not fully finished that yet, but I'm working on it. I'm having a good time. And yeah, Splatoon Raiders has been fantastic. It's, so there's been a thing where over on, I think it's Metacritic, it's become one of the highest reviewed games by user reviews of all time. I think it's currently sitting at like number 7 on like highest rated user reviews. And while that's definitely not gonna last, like that's just like a temporary thing. Eventually some new popular game's gonna come in. Like technically Resident Evil did the exact same thing earlier this year with Resident Evil 9. But for the moment, yeah, Splatoon Raiders being the 7th most, you know, highest reviewed game according to user reviews, sure, fuck it, why not? What does that mean for me with my, you know, game of the year? Splatoon 3 was my game of the year in 2022. I don't know. I admittedly do not know at the moment. But yeah, I've been having a great time with Splatoon Raiders. My hope is that after we finish up with King of Cards here, I do want to play Splatoon. I've actually already grabbed it. I went and I brought the Wii U out of storage, and I want to do Splatoon, and then we also have to do Pokemon. because they've been doing mass outbreak events again. And if you watched back in the day, we used to shiny hunt in mass outbreaks on this show. So I'm thinking we start doing that again. So it's just something I've been thinking about. But I think we're gonna alternate between playing some Splatoon and then doing some mass outbreak event. Maybe we'll do a little bit of both. You know, you never know. Because there's like this first mass outbreak event, the water event, has like 8 Pokemon in it. So that's gonna take us a few weeks. And then they've already announced the next outbreak event, which actually started today, so I should probably get some stuff done. But it does Glamora and Glamet. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but I'll figure it. I'm a sneaky little snake. But yeah, Splatoon Raiders has been fantastic. I'm having a great time. I definitely don't think I wanna, like, if we were gonna play it on stream, I definitely don't think I'm gonna play it on stream. This boss is breaking me, man. This boss. I don't think I'm gonna play Splatoon Raiders again anytime soon. There is still so much to do in that game. I've seen some people say the game is grindy. I could definitely see that, but I also think there is a very clear difficulty curve as long as you're doing like the spicy and super spicy levels. But if you're not, then yeah, I see the issues. I heard the other grind is it's hard to get Spiralite shards. And yeah, I agree with that. I've definitely had issues with getting enough, but I've still been having a great time. All right, let's talk Rick and Morty season 9. So Rick and Morty, I know, is a very complicated show. It's got some very good seasons. You know, the first 3 are pretty well reviewed. And then it just got awful for a moment there. You know, really starting around season 4. Which one? I hate how they name episodes. I fucking hate how they name episodes. Like, oh my god, the fucking dragon one, the sperm. Bed of Acid was okay. But you know, for every good Rick and Morty in some of those early ones, there's a bad one. But then around season 8 last year, they actually kind of seemed to stop giving a shit, and the show actually got better. Overall, I thought season 8 was actually pretty decent, with some pretty good episodes. There were some dumb ones. The fucking Easter one with the rabbits and the space Jesus, that was kind of stupid. But for the most part, I liked season 8. And season 9, I like even more. It's got some lesser episodes. 9-9, Salute Your Morts, was not a great one. The kids get sent away to like a camp while all the adults just do drugs, Forever High. That one wasn't too good. There was another one that I don't remember. Which one was it? I don't know. There was another episode in the season that I didn't really care for. But for the most part, I've had a good time with the season. Some episodes have been really good. Others have been kind of funny. So our first episode was There's Something About Mort. This is the return of Evil Morty. They clearly put their budget into this episode. They actually, I think, had a decent budget this season, and it kind of shows sometimes. But having Evil Morty back, the twist reveal in the episode, the bunker dimension, the season premiere was actually pretty strong. From there, episode 2 was... we find out that Rick leaves the world to go to like an alternate dimension where he's just living as some guy named Ted. You know, it's kind of like he takes a vacation, and so he shuts off his Rick brain, and then Ted finds out about Rick and then like tries to kill Rick and gets his like fishing buddies involved. And it was actually a pretty good, pretty deep episode. The ending is, you know, people like their sad Rick and Morty moments. It's got a good sad Rick and Morty moment. Rick Fu Hustle was episode 3. It's very clearly a more comedic episode. They get 5-finger death punched, where if they take 3 steps, they're gonna die. But like, hey, if we walk backwards. And it's got one of the biggest laughs, which is the reveal of who is the god of Kung Fu. the actual episode itself is just okay, and it goes into weird places, but I thought it was funny enough. A Ricker runs through it is they have this cousin friend who takes them fly fishing, and then they find out he's just a robot. It was a fine episode. Again, it's got its moments. The whole reveal that this guy is a robot is a good one. And then how there's a lot of using Rick's technology against him this season, and this is a good example of that. Darebud this is where Morty goes off to Dog World. You know, there was an episode, the worst episode of Rick and Morty is The Rise of the Numericon, where it's like, oh, we're so desperate for an episode. We're gonna bring back the Ice-T and the letter people and the number people. This one is like, hey, we're desperate, so we're gonna bring back the talking dog. But this time, the talking dogs have basically made their own dogs, like these human people. Meanwhile, Jerry gets infected by a parasite. Morty doesn't want to become the savior of the dog people, but he's kind of has no choice and they have to start a civil war. It was okay. The Jerry stuff is really good. Him no longer being able to fear because he gets infected with parasites is pretty good. Episode 8 is this is where Rick's body and head get detached from each other, and then they start trying to kill each other because they think that, oh well, the biggest problem of is my body that's is an alcoholic or whatever, or it's the head's an alcoholic but the body's capable of love, and they hate each other. It's got some funny moments, it's got some good action. Overall, a solid episode. Episode 7 is Mort Goalie, The Last Rick Forest. This is the Spore episode where they keep getting reincarnated, and also just a very good premise for an episode. It's not the funniest, but it's more creative. Like, it reminds me of like some of those classic Futurama episodes where it's just like, we have this crazy premise for an episode and we're just gonna go all out with it. And oh boy, do they explore all the facets of it. And yeah, it's a really good episode. Morty becomes a tree. Episode 8 is there's a parasite in Morty's brain that makes him feel super empathy for everything, but he eventually gets addicted to it, and then he burns out his empathy center, and then Rick gets the parasite stuck inside of him. Overall, pretty okay episode. Jerry, meanwhile, gets stuck with a serial killer who thinks that Jerry is an even more fucked up serial killer. Episode 9, Salute Your Morts. This is because of how entitled Summer and Morty are being, they get sent to like summer camp, but it turns out, hey, all the kids killed all the counselors, and so summer camp is an endless party, but endless partying actually kind of fucking sucks. And meanwhile, this is more, Rick's not in this episode as much, it's more of a Beth and Jerry episode, and they get high, and then they go to space, and then they get stuck high at a mall, and then Rick shows up and he's also been doing drugs. And it's not the best. It's probably the weakest episode of the season, but like, I didn't hate it or anything. Like, compared to like some other seasons, it's they're definitely worse. And then episode 10, Field of Dreams, is Morty learns they basically, when Ricks die, they, if somebody doesn't steal their universe, they do estate sales. And while at one of these estate sales, Morty runs into another Morty who does this thing called funeral hopping, where they go to other dimensions where just Morty died, and like they learn like how they're appreciated and how they're loved. And so Morty goes to one of these other dimensions and he accidentally gets caught. So all of a sudden the Jerry, Beth, and Summer of this dimension think that Morty's alive again. He explains everything, but Morty feels underappreciated, so he starts hanging out with them. And then he learns that the Jerry of this dimension is crazy, that like he wanted Morty to be safe from everything, and as a result it ended up killing him because he tried to free climb a mountain. But then eventually they're able to find Rick, who this Rick did not, you know, is not part of the Council of Ricks, did not do portal travel or anything like that. Instead, he was an alcoholic. Eventually, he got sober. He taught at MIT. He found a new wife, and you know, he was happy. But then when Morty shows back up into his life, it's like, hey, will you help me invent portal travel? And Rick is like, yeah, okay, I'll help you do that. And so they try to do it. Right as they think they're about to, this destroys Rick. You know, it almost ruins Rick's life. Or it does ruin his life. He starts drinking again. He breaks up with his new wife. There's a great moment where Morty tells the new wife, like, Rick belongs more to me than he does to you. And it's a fucking great moment. That just holds on it for a minute. And she leaves. They eventually do figure out portal travel, kind of, but then Jerry comes in, and Rick, Jerry, and all the others kill each other. And then the estate sale guy comes in, and that's how Morty gets back with all the others. And then the episode ends with them, Rick and Morty, riding into the sunset on a motorcycle. All's well that ends well. It's actually a pretty good season finale. It's more of the emotional one than like a Council of Rick one. That, you know, the whole extended universe thing. Kind of like last season. Like last season dealt with Memory Rick. This one's a little bit more laid back, but it's more emotional. But it's a good emotion. I liked it. And so yeah, that's Rick and Morty. President Curtis, real quick. This is a Rick and Morty spinoff starring the President Curtis. It's got Stephanie Beatrice as a hacker, and it's got Jim Rash as a special agent who is half leprechaun. The first episode was all about, you know, introducing Banks, who is Stephanie Beatrice, to the president as the CIA is trying to blackmail the president. Second episode, they're in a prison where it's like the Bermuda Triangle prison, where they keep all like the monsters of, you know, the world. And yeah, they're okay episodes. It's one of those, they make a joke where it's like, oh, you know, it may not be a great show, but it'll be a good 10 episodes. And yeah, that's kind of what I feel like so far. Like, yeah, I don't expect this show to have another season, but so far, I guess it was a good 10 episodes. So yeah, so far, I have enjoyed it. Also, this is me changing the music, because guess what? We still don't have music. And if we didn't have music, I'd be going fucking crazy. But yeah, President Curtis, again, we're just like 2 episodes in. So far, I've enjoyed it. Nothing special, but nothing terrible either. It's more Rick and Morty. You know, Keith David is still great. He's still got a great voice. Definitely, you know, this is what? 2 has-been Hotel cast members ripping off Inside Job. Is Inside Job a better show? Yes. Inside Job was definitely a better show. But for like a fun, you know, 10-episode romp, which again, maybe it gets more, maybe it doesn't. That's like a 7 out of 10 so far. I'll watch a new episode, but it's not going to reach the highs of Rick and Morty, but I also don't expect it to, because this is President Curtis, the Rick and Morty spinoff. Like, who gives a shit? All right, my adventures with Superman real quick. While we're ending off. The last episode was fucking amazing. So it's Reign of the Supermen. You know, Jonathan and Laura have come back. They're looking to kill Lex Luthor for creating the Eradicator. Laura goes and confronts him. Lex unleashes a prototype Eradicator who beats the shit out of them. Kara fights the Eradicator and fucking dies. Okay, I know she's not dead, she's just like in a coma, but it's still very clearly invoking that imagery. Her fight with the Eradicator is fantastic. Her screaming at it, like after it screams at her, is great. Bizarro shows up, but he shows up just a little bit too late. And then at the end, yeah, Kara's defeated. The Eradicator steals the time travel device and goes back in time to who knows where. And then Clark gets a calling to go get his power. So him and Bizarro head off to the Fortress of Solitude, where we're gonna find out about the robots that were infected by Brainiac. Because, you know, that's the thing. Like, there's usually a thing where it's like, if one piece of Brainiac remains, you can rebuild a whole Brainiac. So the fact that they didn't destroy the Brainiac core is like, yeah, no shit, he's infecting your computers. It does seem from the one preview we have of the next episode, it does look, he's like offering Clark a chance to get his powers back as long as he like does, you know, proves himself. And, you know, it looks like we're getting not World, but, you know, a more warrior, proto Krypton Clark. Should be interesting, should be fun. I'm excited. We got 2 episodes left in the season. So far, this was the animation was fantastic in this episode. This has been a great season. It's got pacing issues, but they only have 10 episodes. I really wish shows had more episodes. Like back in the day, this would have never been an issue. But now in the modern age where shows only get like 10 episodes, of course this is an issue. And it fucking sucks. It really does suck. Because yeah, we used to get more from these shows. And now we just don't. But no, the episodes have been good. They're just short. Who knows what's happening with the Jimmy Cara thing, especially now that she's, again, not dead, but in a coma. So I am, you know, worried about what's going to happen with them. But it's been a good show. It's been a good season. So far, I have been enjoying it. And yeah, there we go. Double Knight, King of Cards. No credit music. But I don't know why fighting that boss fight broke everything. And then why did we have music in the ship? If it broke all the music, I would understand. But it didn't break the music in the ship. How weird. Whatever. There's an end credits. Do I have anything else to say? There is a cute little end credits scene here, but I don't really care. I think that takes us to the end. So what are my plans for the future? Here's the thing. I was looking at movies. I know we have End of Oak Street like next week, but I'll be honest, I could give less of a shit about that movie. Like, I might see it, but honestly, if I don't see the End of Oak Street, I'm not going to be like too upset or anything. It's just kind of a thing that exists. It's only an hour and 40 minutes, actually. That's actually kind of nice. Whereas I feel like every movie is like, you know, 2-3 hours nowadays. Having an hour, you know, it's shorter than Toy Story 5. Wow. Okay, maybe I will go see it. It's just, and then that's like it. Like, that's the last movie until like, at least the last movie, because there's a bunch of horror movies coming out soon, and I could care less. Care less about that. When does the Hunger Games come? Sunrise on the WIBE. Isn't that supposed to be? Is that come? Oh God, that's in November, really? Oh my God. I don't know. So maybe we'll have that to talk about. Another thing I really want. So House's new game, the developers of Untitled Goose Game, their new game, Big Walk, came out this week. And I'm actually very interested in it. I'm a big fan of House. I love Untitled Goose Game. It's total indie darling for me. And so when you see Big Walk, it's getting great reviews. I'm like, oh yeah, I really want to play this. Multiplayer only. And you don't have any friends. Actually, I am curious. How long did this take us to beat? But yeah, I am genuinely curious about Big Walk. The problem is I just don't have anybody to play it with, or else I would probably play it. So it's one of those things that is definitely on my radar, and I definitely do want to play, but I don't know if I will be playing anytime in the near future. So just be aware that, yes, I would love to talk about Big Walk It is definitely on my radar. It's getting great reviews. I don't know if I will play it. I don't have any friends. So like, who the fuck would I play it with? Like, let's be honest. I don't know. I saw there's like someone made like a website where you can like find people to play it with, because they don't have like random matchmaking, but someone making a website's nice. And then Peak has its new update coming out soon, which at least that one I can play by myself, but you know, maybe I'll find some people. Maybe I'll go on the speedrunning Discord. Because I was once a world record holder in Peak for like 10 minutes. Took me 7 hours. Wow. What item did we miss? I thought we had full item completion. Card completion makes total sense. What item did we miss? I have no idea. I have no idea. Yeah, who cares? But yeah, I want to play it, but I don't know if I will. I don't know about anything else either. I can't, like, yeah, Fire Emblem comes out. I did have the idea for something new, though. I don't know if you look at the September game releases, there are a lot of games coming out in September. And I had an idea for it. But I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, if I were to do it, I'd have to do it starting in September. So maybe I might be working on something new in the background. Spoiler alert, hint, hint, wink, wink. That maybe we'll have to do it, you know, first, like last week of August. But you never know. But I had an idea, that's for sure. There we go. What a cute little scene. Do we have music? Okay, that fucking... whatever. All right. I think that's where we're gonna end off for tonight. Yeah, we've been going for 2 hours. That's to be expected. So yeah, we'll be back next week. We're either going to start Splatoon 1 or we're going to do some shiny hunting next week. I don't know which. Maybe we'll alternate. 1 week we'll do a Splatoon, 1 week we'll do some shiny hunting. But that's my plan as I think about it at the moment. Because again, there's a lot of shiny hunting to be done. Like seriously, there's like 8 ones. Plus like Dondozo or Tatsugiri has like 3 different forms. Basculin has a male and a female. Yeah, there's a lot of shiny hunting that needs to be done. So, we'll see. But with that, I'm going to end off there. So I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time, peace.